Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. You have your host, Lauren. And today's episode, I have an amazing guest here with me. This is Madison. She is a visionary artist. So, Madison, tell us a little bit about why you call yourself a visionary artist, kind of where this started, kind of a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So happy to be here on the show today. This is my first podcast interview, so I am a little nervous, but when I heard Enlightened Misfit, I feel like I highly aligned with that. And I just think it's hard to talk about yourself, and I'm out of my comfort zone, but I'm just here to show some light and love and help other entrepreneurs. I've been an artist all of my life, and I think in the past 3 years, I've started taking my work a little bit more seriously and really just bringing my ideas to life. I'm a photographer as well, so I love to do maternity photo shoots and mother blessing ceremonies that help facilitate um, divine love and help mothers release their fears in a very spiritual way. I also create art installations. My most recent project I did was a terrifying tea party, and really just creating a safe space for other people. I'm also a mental health advocate, so super passionate about suicide prevention and helping other people um, not restart, but realign with the life that they could have rather than just accepting the life that we have. But um, yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I was going to say, I have to say, I'm super proud of you for doing this, getting out of your comfort zone. Because if I say so myself, speaking, public speaking, I've always had, for me personally, it was very hard. And of course, I've always wanted my own podcast, and, I have it now. And I'm telling you, I still get nervous, even interviewing people or even talking about myself. It's like when people ask me about myself, I'm like, wait, what? So I can totally align with what I'm so I hear, I feel you, I hear you. Like I'm very proud of you though, because I mean it gets easier, and hopefully by our listeners that are listening today, that they, that will give them the encouragement that you just said. This is your first podcast, and it's just like, if you can do it, I can do it. That's just showing other people that everybody else can do it, right? So
Yes, absolutely. I'm super passionate about women's empowerment,
yeah.
and I'd love to be like a TED Talk speaker one day. So hopefully this is like a little milestone for me.
Oh yeah, that was the little backstory about me. So I did my first speaking engagement. What was it? Probably in August. And I have to say, it was this TED Tile speech, and what I'm telling you, I had all of the nerves. That I was the first time I've ever gotten on stage in front of people. I'm super passionate about human design, and I've been doing this for like 4 years, but there's just something about getting on the stage and speaking. It's like you got to like shed that ego part of like, what are people going to think of me, and then let your heart speak, like let your heart speak. And a lot of people, like even some of my clients, were like, I can't believe that you were nervous. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What do you mean? I'm a human. You can't
Right.
believe I'm nervous, right? And it's funny, some of the listeners are gonna be like, oh my goodness, it actually, I'm just I so here on our podcast, it's more like that. I always wanted to have those authentic conversations, and it's like nobody really talks about the fear and what you go through, and it's like you see these famous people that make everything look so easy. Like I watch TED Talks all the time, but you have to remember those TED Talks are edited, right? So it's like if you were there live, they might not have sounded like that. And I just, one of my really good friends is actually a TED Talk. She's a TEDx speaker, and
Awesome.
just watching her and the way that she like kills it. But she, before she gets on stage, she doesn't sound like she's like, I'm so nervous. Like it's just, I feel like anybody that you talk to that's human, unless they're like a robot, they're going to tell you the same thing. So it's like, you're not going to ever get rid of those fears. And that's or I should say those nerves, because just from my perspective, they don't ever go away. And that keeps you humble. I feel like for me, it kept me humble of like, oh my goodness, I'm human. Right. And then it's like when you get up on stage and you're speaking from your heart, like I could feel when you were talking about yourself that
Mhm.
was very genuine. It was like from your heart. So I love that. So hopefully that will give some of, the listeners that courage to just, be that, I can see you say that if you want to be a TEDx speaker one day, you will be a TEDx
Yeah.
speaker one day. I'm super excited for you. You make sure
Thank-
you send me your TEDx talk when you get on stage.
Oh,
Okay. So the one thing that I am really super interested about is you said the concept of the virtual book club that you offer. Tell
mhm.
some of our listeners what that is and how they, for one, could connect with you if they're really into reading books, and what this looks like what this entails.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, the past couple of years, I've been like super isolated from the world, I'd say until like up until last year. So I realized I didn't have like the friend group I needed. And I was like, if I want to do these things and have these discussions, I'm going to have to create that. So I'm in a Facebook group. It's called the LS Dreamers. It's a DJ that I really love, but I am super passionate about like deep diving into the secrets of the universe and just like wanting to have those talks that really help us evolve. And I just started a, I was like, if anyone wants to come hop on this Zoom meeting and just like see where it goes. And like, I don't know, I do my best work under pressure, so it'll literally be like an hour before the book club starts, and I'll just like wing all this like stream of consciousness that we just discuss topics from spirituality to our goals and what kind of things we'd like to accomplish. And having that sense of community has been really beneficial for me, and just being able to um, speak from the heart and have a safe space for other people to um, be vulnerable. I think that's why it's so important to me.
Yeah. So the two things I love is when you said the secrets of the universe, that's like my whole vibe. That's my whole like niche in my business pretty much.
Yeah.
So I was like, we definitely are soul sisters. I'm like, and you have to add me to that. So I'll make sure, and then anybody listening too, if they want to be added to that. I feel like when you said community, that is
Mhm,
something that has been coming up a lot for me too, because of
mhm.
like the pandemic has separated us so much.
Yep.
And then sometimes, I don't know if you can resonate with this. The online space is just so noisy that it's
Mhm,
just like so many people are doing so many different things, and you don't really know um like what is for you and what's not anymore. And two, like the online space is very like masculine, so it's
yeah.
not so feminine. And I feel like a lot of us leaders, healers, mentors are trying to bring back into that feminine energy. So I love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you said all of that, because I want to be signed up, so you can sign me up.
Awesome. And the best part of it is I have a lot of different prompts that are questions and just things that you might have not have thought about. And I think
Yeah.
that getting to know yourself and just like having those questions to make you really think about your evolution and what we are here to do on earth is just important to me. And I wish like I would have had that kind of support when I was going through different things. So being able to give back to people and just offer a space for people to grow, it's what I'm passionate about.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but that is kind of where I started with human design, because I noticed a lot of people I would hear a lot of people say like, I want to know my life purpose. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Me too. Like, so then, this like 4 years ago, I'm like, where do I find my life purpose? Like it was just like things that I was asking. And I realized if you just ask the question, even now, sometimes like in meditation, I'll ask. And then sometimes I don't wait to receive the answer. And then I'm like frustrated, like those human emotions come in and it's like, oh, I'm frustrated. Nobody's answering me. And
Right.
it's like, no, you're not listening. Right.
Like
Yeah.
the phone universe.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, hello, universe, you're not listening. Right. Okay. So the other question that I also had too, and I feel like some of our listeners might have, would be when you call yourself a visionary artist.
Mhm.
So, and you said your whole life you've been an artist. Now,
Mhm.
how do you paint pictures for people? Is it just, how do you use your gift in that way?
Yeah, so my journey as an artist begins like back in elementary school when I was at the Catholic grade school and I like colored this picture in like super rainbow, I don't know, and I won this like free book from the book fair. So I was lit and I like just always started doing art in like super bright colors, super intricate details. I can show you some of my art and we can put it on here, but I just have so many little details in my art, and I think it's a way of expression for me, and just like I get into that flow of just being able to create, and I definitely don't get to do it as much as I want to anymore, just because of like having a matrix job and like just trying to make it in the world these days. But like it is my passion, and I get to travel to different festivals and show my art and meet new people that are part of my soul family. And I have a whole family of art and creatives that I've like cultivated in the last year. And um, I don't know, I'm just super happy to be where I'm at. And I know it's something that I created for myself. So
Yeah, that's
grateful.
awesome. I was gonna say, well, you have us here as your soul family. We have a whole tribe of people. um, so when you said, when you had said that, so what do you do for, you said your matrix job? I think a lot that would resonate with a lot of people because I feel like even when I switched over, took the leap of faith,
Mm.
there's also a lot of people right now that are starting to kind of collectively, I should say, they're like, that 9 to 5 job. They're trying to figure out how they could kind of take that leap. What does that look like for you? Like, what do you do as for your 9 to 5? Because obviously we all have bills, right? We all can't just,
Yeah,
take that leap of faith.
absolutely. So I work in healthcare, and I feel like it's a part of my karma right now because I work at a clinic that we see like 170 patients a day, and I'm definitely just in the matrix. It's a different energy, but like I am, it's like a good paying job, and I'm like grounded for once. So, and I work like 312, so I'm in the process of developing my photography business, so I have the extra time. And um it just takes time. Like you
Yeah.
can thing I've learned is I've tried to like half-ass things, and now that I'm like more grounded, I definitely just am trying to develop something that's gonna grow into that full time. And there's so much that goes into the online entrepreneur business, but just really being genuine and like planning has been a I don't know, it's been different for me because I've always just been like go with the flow, but now that I'm planning and trying to establish myself, um I'm like seeing some results, and it just takes time. And if there's like any advice I could give anyone, it's just to always be honest with yourself and like know that there is a different life out there apart from like everything we've learned. And it's just, I hate that it takes time, and I don't want to trust the process, but the process is like what will get you there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the things that I took away was that was probably a message for me because I actually was just right there. So I used to work in healthcare too, and I had took the leap of faith that I was not going back to my 9 to 5. And when you say that it's hard, I probably should have done, now that I look back on it, I always think to myself, I probably should have done this a little bit different. Like, probably shouldn't have just completely, because I was a single mom and I had a daughter, right? So it's like,
Right.
my mom's like looking at me and she's like, Lauren, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm not
Mhm.
going back there, because there was obviously a lot of things that happen in between, right? It's like that huge, like, that I'm sure you had plenty of spiritual awakenings, but that spiritual awakening, that was like, this is not happening anymore kind of thing. And, um, you could tell us a little bit about when yours started, but I'm not sure if, grief or, trauma, I'm sure you had some type of story that kind of helped you, like kind of took you in that way of like, I'm not doing this anymore kind of thing. But for me, it was more of like, I felt like I was always struggling, but I realized once I did trust that process, just like you said, that it takes time, that, and I feel like now collectively, just everything that's happening, there's so much happening collectively, right? With all the energy, that it's
Yeah.
like that message of, it's easy to tell somebody, right? The advice of like, it takes time. And it's just like, it's a little bit deeper than that, right? But it's like, that's literally all you can say sometimes, that if it's just like, trust that you're not behind. And I had,
No.
right. And I had a dear friend tell me the other day that she's like, I said out loud, literally, this is what I talk about. This is what I coach about. This is like, just real life. Then I'm like, I feel like I'm so behind. Like, I got to go catch up. And she's like, Lauren, you're not behind. And I was like, that
Mhm.
is, sometimes everybody needs that reminder that we're really not behind. We're just, we're trying to, that's conditioning from, even if you've deconditioned all these years,
Right.
that you still have that, like, I'm so far behind. And social media does not make it easier, right?
Oh,
Right.
it's killer.
Sometimes I wish I went, I'm like, can I just go back to my 9 to 5 job? Like, can I just go check, like clock in, clock out, entrepreneur. I don't feel like people realize being an entrepreneur and even having that 9 to 5 job and having a family and, doing your own personal healing. It's not as easy as everybody tries to make it. So that's why I'm like, I'm trying to be as raw and real and authentic as possible. So people are like, I can mess up. I can make a mistake. It's safe to make a mistake. It's safe to just not, half the time. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. So I'm just
Yeah.
like rarely, really authentic about that. But I feel like being vulnerable like that has got me to where I am today. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. All right. So the, when I asked you earlier about your story, so is there a time or moment in your life, like how did you get to be where you are today? I feel like where, like some of the listeners I know would probably want to know, like, what changed in you, or did you have a lifetime of grief or trauma or limiting beliefs? I know we all have our different stories, but I want to know your story. Like, when did it shift for you, or when did you kind of want to know, I want to know something different, like what this life is about? Like, when did that shift for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so passionate about storytelling and hearing everyone's journey of growth. So, um I've always really struggled with body image and like being different than my family. I'm like an artist and they're all like sports people and military. So I've never felt like I fit into that like mold. So I had to like go find my people and go um on like a lot of scary like journeys and a series of unfortunate events. And in 2020, um I just stopped caring about myself and about like life. I knew that if I was helping people and distracting myself, like that was good enough. And I was trying to do the most for everyone else, but I didn't know myself and I didn't know like what I was here for. I was just going through the motions. And it was when we were isolated during COVID that have I just had really negative, dark thoughts. And like it was it's hard for me to talk about openly, but like I know that was the pivotal point for me. And I was like, I remember just like sitting in my garage and being like praying to God that I don't even know if I believe in. I was just like, when is this going to change? And literally the next day, like I had an overdose, and it was in front of like all of my um it was like on a Zoom meeting in front of all the people I was going to cosmetology school. So 30 people deep just like saw me have a mental breakdown. And I remember like going into the hospital knowing like, oh, like this is how I'm going to die. Like I did too much, and like this is it basically. And I was in the hospital for 9 days. I only remember two. And while it's really hard for me to be vulnerable, like I tell my story so people know that they're not alone. And I had to go through basically like complete reconstruction of who I am and how I felt. It was like you landed on a new planet. And um I just knew I had to build and restart from literally nothing. And I think just like taking the time to sit with myself and like get to know, like figure out, ask myself those questions, and like just be kinder and gentle to myself. I think that's when I knew I was just like, I can create something that I'm proud of and help other people along the way. And, there's so much darkness in the world, but if you can just find like the smallest bit of light, I just think that um, it really does get better. And I really hate that phrase, but like there's this picture of me and my boyfriend at Disney World, and it's like the picture on the ride, and like I just like look so happy on it. And like it really did get better for me. And that's why I'm like so passionate about helping other people and just providing like a safe space for them to know that like they matter, and so do I. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for being vulnerable. And I'm
Yeah,
sending you tons of hugs and love right now, because
yeah.
some of you guys will watch this. We're recording this. So some of you listening or recording. And I have to just say that it takes tremendous courage and bravery to say your story. So I'm so happy you're here still. And I definitely have a very similar story. So I definitely wholeheartedly understand exactly everything that you're saying. So
Thank you.
thank you so much again for being here. And now, is there something? So, how can people um, get in contact with you? I know that we'll make sure that they, in the show notes in the description box, that they have everything that they get in contact with you. But is there? Do you have a website? Do you? What is your social media links? Because I know a lot of people are going to want to get into this. You have. I know I
Absolutely.
am.
Well, thank you so much. I had this like big website scheme, but so I'm just like working on making a form for the new winter book club.
Okay.
And also my inbox is always open to anyone that just wants to scream into the void, or like have excuse me, anyone that needs to just like have someone to talk to. I know that I would have really just like needed someone to listen, and I am like proud to be that person for anyone that doesn't have that person. And I can provide the form link if anyone's interested. It's like a bi-weekly book club, so it's over Zoom, and usually it goes from an hour and a half to 2 hours, and just like a safe space for people to um come and hang out with cool people and just be yourself. But yes, thank you so much for listening today, and I'm really grateful we could have our talk.
Oh yes, we're gonna stay in contact, so don't worry about that. um, all right, so I will make sure all the listeners have that link. So thanks for joining us on today's episode with the amazing Madison. Hopefully you found some great nuggets. I know I have. And hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with somebody that you feel that will gain value from listening to this. I think the world should hear her story. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next time.